It's time for the Thyworm Weekly Roundup with my curated news and personal gaming endeavors. Are you enjoying these? Consider subscribing. The new Path of Exile leak, Delirium, is slowly but surely revealed to us. While the patch notes aren't yet available, a lot of new features have been teased and I'm really pumped to get back into the game. I'm not that enthusiastic per se about the whole Delirium thing, although I'm sure it's a nice addition to all the other gameplay elements in there, but mostly about the new skills and the craftable passive nodes. A few of the new skills are on display over here, which I think are just super cool. I'm not sure if it is a great idea to use them for league starters because they could suck, gear will be tricky with everyone playing these skills, and overall it doesn't benefit you much to start the league with this, but for a second or third character the Blade Blast skill looks super nice. Next to that there will be more movement skill variety with more feasible options next to Flame Dash. 350 new monsters got added to the Spectres pool as well, so that offers a ton of potential new interactions. The Atlas and map drops received some changes as well. Drop rates will be slightly reduced, but I think there will be still plenty of maps to run. The Temple of Exile and the Vile side areas now drop more maps, which is great. Metamorph goes core, so we can enjoy more crazy fights. Another feature I really like is that in 3.10 you will be able to tell if a map will spawn Conqueror influence, so you can just juice those maps heavily. It is still RNG, but at least you know when it occurs up front, as opposed to having to run maps and then waiting for the spawn and then hoping you still had your sextant active. It's just looking really promising and I'm excited. The whole thing launches March 13th in less than a week. Last Epoch is teasing more and more features on a new patch 0.7.7, which releases later this month. I already made a video about the graphical changes, which are massive, so check that out. Apart from that, we're getting a new town portal animation, character introductions that tell us more about the class we're playing, an underwater boss for the next chapter, more ambient sounds, and they released a bunch of cool wallpapers. Exciting times. Killsquad posted a dev diary talking about the Genesis update, which released 2 weeks ago. They once again repeated their 2020 purpose, variety and progression. The first half of the year they will spend on variety, reworking contracts and giving players more stuff to do. An example is the Genesis update, which reworked recruit contracts. I played it for a few hours and I thought it was really good. In April and June, the veteran contracts get an overhaul as well in 2 separate patches. It's also good to hear that the Genesis update was well received by the audience. I liked it as well because there's a clear purpose, there were people aligned to play with, I really enjoyed the new overhauled missions and I wasn't the only one according to the post. The update drove traffic towards the game. People have been reviewing it positively too, so that's good to hear. In terms of evolving your hero, Killsquad is looking towards a more classic RPG style of progression. Currently, progression mostly takes place in the missions itself as you level up during a contract and develop new skills. After the quest is done, however, there's hardly any progression. There's a number next to your hero, but it doesn't really mean anything apart from you being able to open up more contracts. Progression is basically non-existent in between missions, and that should change using a classic RPG system where your character becomes stronger over time in a much more meaningful way. How this will be implemented exactly is something the devs haven't shared yet. The game starts to look good though, the updates are positive, the game feels a lot better as well. The devs follow up on their plans so far. I'm hopeful for the game's future. If you're interested, just give it a go. I've enjoyed Killsquad for a good couple of hours already, and while this won't be one of those games you sink 200 hours into, most likely, I think it'll be worth the money either way because the action-packed missions are already really fun to play in the current state of the game. Sanctum Breach dropped a small new patch, patch 1.5, introducing a skill tree for the Hexlord, 25 achievements, a drop increase for tomes and updated tooltips for skillbooks. Sanctum Breach is a promising game, it is still very much in alpha, and unfortunately the single developer Sam Keats indicated that he's having a hard time to make ends meet because of the game sales. So if you want to support him and you like what you see, you can purchase the game for some indie dev funding. The game itself does need a lot of work though, just be mindful of that. Stone Shard posted an update regarding their upcoming content patch, Troll Slayer. It will hit digital shelves end of March, and here are some of the features you can expect. Additional flora and fauna got added, like bisons and deer. There's a few new plants and mushrooms too, and food can now be prepared at campsites. That's good because survival in this game is actually pretty tough. There's new dungeon type, catacombs. Expect to find vampires inside. The dungeon generator is getting an overhaul as well, making dungeons more complex and fun to complete. The devs will implement new skill trees, one for combat and one for athletics. Combat is pretty straightforward and character specific. Athletics is much more generic, applicable to any character, and allows the player to move more fluently in battle, to cover greater distances, and it is very much utility based. Last but not least, expanded dialogue system. The devs indicate this will never be a classical RPG with Baldur's Gate-like dialogues, because Stone Shard is simply not that kind of game. However, the dialogues still get an overhaul and should reveal more about the characters, the world, the lore, etc. I feel this can definitely add to the immersion, and I always like interacting with NPCs to see what's going on in the virtual world I am a part of. While the Terra 2 New Lands concluded their first alpha tests and 2 more are planned. I dug a little deeper into the story behind this game, which is developed by indie studio Juvti Worlds. They're Russian, they only have 4 people, and the main reason for developing Wild Terra 2 New Lands is to implement a lot of features that its predecessor, Wild Terra Online, and its engine don't support. Those new features are seasonal content in form of new continents, epic bosses like dragons, PvP and PvE, dungeons, fishing, and a ton of crafting and construction. It is really a true successor to the original, their flagship game, and that is the journey they set out to achieve. People can support on their website, and there are multiple packages available. They range from $20 to $10,000. I never really know what to think about this, because who does that, right? But on the other hand, who are we to tell people how to spend their money? So if you want to be a big part of the development of this game and you have $10,000 to spare, have a look. And it's not the first game that offers packages like these. Back in the day, Path of Exile had packages that allowed people to design uniques. Last Epoch still offers this today. Seen in that perspective, these packages aren't really all that extravagant. Back to the game development though, there's a whole range of testing planned. 3 closed alphas, which you can partake in if you buy some of the more expensive packages, a closed beta, which will be around the second quarter of 2020, early access on Steam is planned around the end of the year, and in that point in time we can read the early access notes to see what the plans are from that moment onwards. I got a key from the developers myself. I'm actually not sure if that key also provides me access to the other alpha and beta tests, but if it does and there are no NDAs, I will keep reporting on this game so you can tag along with the progression. I also wanted to get back to you guys about Warlander, which opened up to mostly negative reviews. Whenever I first play a game, I try not to look at reviews because they influence how you view a game. And if I talk about a game, I want to judge it from my own perspective to see if I have fun with it or not, and only once I form an opinion, I may look at other reviews. My views and the reviews may not align at all. Sometimes I don't like a game one bit and reviews are enthusiastic. Other times I like a game a lot and no one else does. However, I feel it is important to stay true to my views regarding a game and what I think is a good game. That way, you as a viewer learn what I like, you can align with that, and then when I recommend something, you know at least what it's worth. There's no point in arguing with reviews. I can only give you my view on a game, and that should hopefully be worth something, because you know in general, after watching my channel, what I like and what I don't like, and you can identify with that. The last weekly roundup, I didn't look at reviews at all when talking about Warlander. I actually enjoyed the game for what it was. Sure, it had a few quirks left and right, but I didn't experience any game-breaking stuff. I found the controls quite responsive actually, not worse than Dark Souls. I never felt I got killed because of the game, but because I just wasn't good enough at it. And I've been improving and making my way in further and further, which seems to me the point of a roguelike. And we're talking about a €15 indie game here. Since the launch, they implemented one patch. It solved minor issues and added controller support, nothing revolutionary. I hope that they do keep patching and improving on this game so it lives up to the high expectations of its player base. I'll keep you posted on the progress. Some personal updates. I played Luna, the Shadow Dust. It released on February 13th already, and I got a review key from indie developer Lantern Studios, so thanks for that. Luna is a point-and-click adventure puzzle game, and after playing it for 1 hour, I have to say that it is a really well-made indie game. Luna offers some intelligent puzzles that do take some brain power to successfully complete. Combine this with truly stunning hand-drawn visuals, accompanied by melancholic melodies, and you have an immersive experience very much in line with titles like Gris or Lone Far Sails. It's indie studios with these kinds of puzzle games that have the power to create amazing worlds, very much focused on delivering a story and an experience through visual and auditive art, rather than super interesting gameplay mechanics. These games are soothing, relaxing, but still not easy. The puzzles in Luna actually had me thinking a bit every now and then, but they are the right level of difficult, I feel, just the right amount of complexity. I think you get the picture. I heartily recommend this game if you're done with slaying monsters in action RPGs. I also bought Curse of the Dead Gods, a really interesting early access game by indie studio Pastek Games. It is a top-down roguelite twin-stick game that does mean WASD movement on mouse and keyboard, but control support is also in place, and you are this dude that has to traverse through a temple, Slay the Spire map style, while fighting your way through various rooms. It's a tough game, but a very enjoyable one. There are quite some items already, a lot of buffs in the form of relics, a few different enemies to fight, and some very challenging gameplay. What's really cool about the whole thing is that you slowly receive more curses over time as you progress, depending on the decisions you take. You can offer your blood, for example, to get a particular weapon, but that causes you to be cursed as well. Curses are basically modifiers that make combat and progression a lot more difficult. The game itself is just super fun though. It's really polished, runs beautifully buttery smooth, the combat is visceral and very responsive, which is a must in games like these. The challenge is certainly there. It's got an 87% positive user review on Steam out of 450 reviews, and I can really recommend this game as well. I bought it on Steam for €15. And that's all I have for you this week. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next week. Love you all. Bye bye.